Good morning. We've been looking at 2 Timothy chapter 2 and talking about discipleship. And we have seen the first two of three metaphors for a disciple. We saw a soldier, we saw an athlete, and today we look in verse 6 of chapter 2. And here's what it reads. It is the hard-working farmer who ought to have the first share of the crops. It's a great metaphor for discipleship. I do not know what it is to work on a farm, but I grew up in upstate New York in dairy country. And when I was a kid, I went to school with other kids who were up at 5 in the morning milking before they came to school that day on the family farm. Those kids knew what it was to learn discipline from a very, very young age because of all that was expected of them. It's interesting that the text says the hard-working farmer. The Greek word for hard-working is the word from which we get our English word copious, like an abundant supply or abundant quantity of something, a copious amount of something. It's this idea of the farmer who works really hard, the farmer who's really diligent, the farmer who has a great fruitful supply because of how hard he's laboring. And it, of course, in an ancient agrarian society, has a particularly strong appeal because this is how people from subsistence farming got their produce, got their family supply. And so we think about this in terms of discipleship. Discipleship entails hard work. Discipleship entails me pursuing the disciplines of God, even if I don't feel like it. It means me learning what it is that discipline gives birth to desire. It means me sitting with something that's not very sexy for a long period of time, waiting patiently so that in God's time, as He sort of operates like wind carving stone, begins to move in my life. So you sit over the Word. You stay in a framework of prayer. You continue to serve. You set yourself before the teaching of the Word. You think long. You read deep. You cultivate the inner life in a way that shows a long obedience in the same direction as Eugene Peterson famously titled his book on discipleship. So the hardworking farmer is the one who gets a share of the crops. And to be a disciple, frankly, you've got to put in the work and you've got to put in the time. Yes, you come to Christ on the merits of Jesus alone. You come to God on the merits of Christ. You are fully saved by grace. But remember, as I've shared before, that grace is not opposed to effort, it's opposed to earning. You live the spiritual life and are a disciple by grace. And that grace is a grace where God empowers you to stick with the stuff and to be diligent in your pursuit of Christ. I hope you have a wonderful day today.